Okay, I think you are now complete. Welcome to the last session of today. It's called SAP HANA based real-time reporting. I hope you are not too tired for that session at 8 o'clock. Last year, if you were here, we talked about in-memory databases and SAP HANA in general, about the development environment, about objects, all data services, about UI5 applications, all that stuff, SQL script, what is possible in SAP HANA. Today we want to have a look on the reporting options. What is the content for the session? First we make a little SAP HANA warm-up. It's a short summation of the last year's session. Then I want to show you the SAP HANA Column Views and the modeling of it, because SAP HANA Column Views are really the base for the most reporting tools, controls. Next point is for the classical ABAP development. I think most of you know the SAP List Viewer, the ALV. There is a new version called ALV with integrated data access. Then a tool out of the business objects universe called Analyses for Microsoft Office. Here you can really report real-time data in your Excel or in your PowerPoint. And the last tool I want to show you is SAP Lumira. Maybe you know it already with the former name, SAP Visual Intelligence. It is rebranded with a new name, with new announced features regarding SAP HANA. And with that tool, you are able to make very easy in a very short time nice visualizations, make storyboards, and so on. But first, a little warm-up regarding SAP HANA. Behind SAP HANA, there was a vision from Hasso Plattner, a founder of SAP. There are several points in that vision. Of course, because SAP HANA is a memory database, all data should lay in memory, really in the RAM. Multi-cross systems with a massive parallelization of the executions until deep diving to the SQL queries and so on should be possible. A very important point is single source of truth, that data is not duplicated anymore. That's related to that point, that OLTP and OLAP systems are in one system. So you don't have no ERP system in the database below where the data is stored, and you have a BI system, a business warehouse system where the data is extracted and stored in another format. Single source of truth means really you have the data only at one place. With that 2 points, a simplification of the DB structures come, because you have just one data model, no separate data model for your DB data. It makes it easier for the developer. A further vision point is the end of the batch. From my point of view, this is still a vision, especially for our products. We are working on that. What does mean this end of the batch? You know it. If people of the business department makes any changes on the data, then long-running calculations are excluded in batch programs, which runs overnight. On the next day, the business people check the results. Maybe he had made an error, then he has to correct the data, or maybe the result does not expect, or it is not expected what he wants. Then he has to adjust the data, and then overnight the batch runs again, and he has to check that on the next day. With the end of the batch, it means that really the batch functionalities, which are at the moment really long running, are integrated in the online process. So the business people can adjust the data, make the calculations, check it, and if it is not correct, adjust the data again and re-execute the calculation. And of course, another vision point is real-time analytics, which is covered with today's session. A very important point is how the data is stored in SAP HANA. As we heard, SAP HANA is in a memory database, all data resides really in the RAM. That makes a good benefit, but how the data is stored is also very important. You know it with the classical database systems, most data is stored row-based. That means if you have a table with several fields, then the values of the fields are stored behind each other. If you have maybe first name, last name on the birth date in your tables, then really the first name, last name, birth date is stored, then the next data entry, first name, last name, birth date. SAP HANA stores most data column-based. So that means if we have the example again, that all values of the first name column are stored behind each other. So if you have 1 million entries in that database table, then the values for that column are stored behind each other. So first name 1, first name 2, first name 3, and so on. But that's not all. A column is stored in a dictionary and an attribute vector, it is called. Maybe we have a look at that example here. You have here the materialized table where you have several first names. You see at position 1 a John, at position 2 a Paul, Richard, Paul again, John, and so on. So you have many duplicate entries in that materialized table. In the dictionary vector, which is automatically created, just the distinct dictionary values are stored. So you see it, you have John just one time, we have Paul, and we have Richard, and we have Mike. No duplicate values. And the attribute vector, here at the positions of the materialized tables, the index value of the dictionary vector is stored. So you see it here at position 1, you have a 1 which stands for John. Position 2, a Paul, 4, again a Paul, and so on. So it makes it very easy for the processing because of integer values can much more fast to be processed by a CPU than the character values. And that's the next slide. That storage type also supports the data compression within SAP HANA. We have several compression algorithms. Two examples are the prefix encoding and the run length encoding. Prefix encoding really means if we have a column, maybe we take that example here with it's the country column of a world population table where all peoples are stored. 7 billion entries maybe, and if you want to store the country for each of the people, then you have 7 billion country entries. With the prefix encoding that is used, if you have at the beginning of the table several times the same value, think about China, 1.5 billion people maybe, you have 1.5 billion times the same entry for the country, 1.5 billion times, always China. And with the prefix encoding, we just said, okay, I have China one time, and I store how often it occurs China one time, and say, okay, it occurs 1.5 billion times. That's the prefix encoding. So another point here, where we have the example, is the run length encoding. It does nearly the same, but for the whole column. So if you have 1.5 billion times China, it says, okay, China 1.5 billion times. If you have Germany 80 million times, it says Germany 80 million times. So it's an extension of the prefix encoding. You see as an example, I've said it here, 37 is the value which represents China. It starts at position 0. We have 74, it's India, and so on. And if you do this for the whole column, you see uncompressed, it takes 7.45 gigabyte, and with the compression, with the run length encoding, it only takes 1 gigabyte. I think that's really impressive. A real life example, which we had in the last month, is a customer who had behind the SAP NetViewer system an Oracle database with uncompressed data of 9 terabyte. Then the first step was they bought the Oracle compression data package, then they could reduce the data size to 3.3 terabyte. And now they migrate to HANA. We have made the first migration, and the same data, the uncompressed 9 terabyte data, was stored in HANA in 1.4 terabyte. So I think that's also really impressive. Just a short a view on the high-level architecture of SAP HANA. Here in the middle, we have SAP database installed with one or several hosts. SAP HANA, different search components are integrated for text search, maybe different libraries for application function library, which has predefined calculations in it, or the predictive analytics library, which is also used for the DSM case. Several processors for SQL processing, store procedure processing, the different stores, the column store where the column-based tables lies, the row store where the row-based table lies, some other things, of course a persistency component, a backup component, and so on. Here you see the SAP Business Suite on the side. Of course, SAP HANA can be used as primary database since NetWeaver 74 behind an ERP system. You have here SAP HANA Studio for the developers to connect to SAP HANA. Personally, I prefer standard Eclipse with the SAP HANA Tools. Last year, we showed you the SAP HANA Studio. So it was only possible with SAP HANA Studio to connect to SAP HANA, but in the meanwhile, the SAP HANA Tools are extracted, so they can be downloaded to your repository site, and you can use standard Eclipse with that tools installed. Why I personally prefer it? Because it is more stable from my point of view, and I get the updates much more frequent. On the other side, we see that we can connect with the different sub-business object tools, like the Office tool I will show you, different SAP applications, and of course also non-SAP applications, like .NET applications, Java applications, or whatever you want. On the other side, just for information, you can, of course, import any data to SAP HANA via SLT. SLT stands for SAP Landscape Transformation. It's a trigger-based transformation tool, and the BO data services. And of course, you can also integrate other data sources. For example, smart data access. If you want to access data on another database via a remote connection, that's also possible out of the box with SAP HANA. So what you should remember about SAP HANA is that all data resides in memory, that the data is stored in most cases column-oriented, which supports the compression I showed you, and the fast data access. And we have highly optimized engines for different use cases, especially for analytic reporting with the calculation engine. Here we see it. I just forgot this. We have here calculation engine in the engines area and several other engines. One important engine I have to mention is the XS engine, which is here pointed on my slide. The XS engine is application and web server, a lightweight application web server, which is integrated in SAP HANA and which allows that SAP HANA can be used as standalone system. Of course, SAP HANA is a database. Many people say, okay, SAP HANA is just a database, but with that XS engine, you can really use a standalone system with your own applications in it. You don't need an additional application server, maybe an ERP system, if you don't need business suite applications or so on. You can build your own SAP HANA applications with server-side JavaScript, with SQL script, and later UI5 application on top, communicating via OData services via the HTTP protocol, and that's it. That is possible. Okay, before I come to the tools, I just want to explain you the data scenario we have created for the demos. To understand the examples, I want to show you them in the system. As you see it in the session of Victor and Christian, the examples were really related to primary insurance. So I've created also an example regarding primary insurance. I have one entity which is called insured objects. This entity stores what is insured, which, for example, a building or something else, or a car. So I have some information here, especially longitude and latitude information to to be able to make EU reporting. The next entity is coverages. Here I define what is insured. This is the insured object insured against floodwater, storm, fire, and so on. And I have just a simple relation table where I say that insured object is insured against that peril. That's just so you understand what the examples do. Very important information here is I do not just have 10 entries in my tables for the demos. I have 1 million data records in the tables. I've tested it also with 10 million records, but I know it's 10 million records in my database, and then I got the call, hey, Mr. Pfeffer, please reduce the load of the database, because our HANA test system is not so big, so I had reduced it to 1 million data records, but I think it should show you that the reporting tools can handle that data now. Okay, SAP HANA Column Views, as I said before, the HANA Column Views are really the base for the reporting tools, for the controls I use here. I want to show you the different view types. I want to explain you what the views really are and how they can be modeled with Eclipse with the SAP HANA tools. One of the goals of SAP HANA views of that things is that the data is provided for the different reporting tools in a prepared way. What means prepared way? Prepared way means that maybe calculations, currency conversions, unit conversions are done on database level, not an application and tool server level. Because if you want to do that in application and tool server level, then you have to transfer the whole data from the database to the application server level. Think about the 1 million data records. My insured objects with sum, what is insured. If you want to create a sum, maybe in currency euro, you have to do the currency conversion. And if you want to do that in the application server level, you have to transfer immediately the 1 million data records up to the application server, then make the currency conversion, and then make the aggregation. The prepared way means that I say, okay, SAP HANA database, please do my calculation in memory. Do not transfer the 1 million data records. Do it really on the database and just give me the result back. It is so that the development paradigm code to data. So really, the logic is pushed down to the database, and the database or the logic then can benefit from the SAP HANA specific engines, like the join engine, roll-up engine, calculation engine, depending on the case what is used. From a usage point of view, we differentiate between set view types here. We have private views, reuse views, and query views. Maybe you have already heard about them from the HANA Live content. HANA Live content are packages of HANA column views which are shipped for free within the SAP HANA marketplace for some business suite products. So HANA Live is just a collection of different HANA column views. And here, the different usage types are. Private views are really internal views for the development with interface which can be changed. So the developer can send the next release. The private views interface is not appropriate for my case. I have to change it, then I do the change, and then I adjust all the places where I use that. On the next level, there are reuse views. Reuse views are really for the reusage of set views with a constant interface. That means that the interface is really fixed and cannot be changed, also not in the next release. So it's kind of stability for the releases. But the reuse views are not intended for the usage in the reporting tools. For that, query views are defined. Query views, for query views also the interface is constant, but the query view combines the different reuse views within it. From a technical point of view, we have the differentiation between set three view types. We have attribute views, analytic views, and calculation views at the moment. Attribute views are views which joins data, which uses then the join engine of SAP HANA. It's also possible to calculate some columns in that views. Analytics views are the classic views for star schemas, for analysis on that kind of data, and the view type also supports the conversion, like currency conversion, unit conversion, and so on. And the calculation views are a free combination of the different view types. You can collect the data of different view types, of different tables. You can do calculations, currency conversions, and so on. I've said that at the moment that 3 view types exist, but my personal opinion is that the attribute views and the analytic views will die in the future version of SAP HANA, because the calculation views can also do the things which attribute views and analytic views can do. The calculation views, there's one point which has to be considered. We have 2 types here, model ones and scripted ones. Model means that they just click together. As I made my modeling environment, takes the data from that table, takes the data from that other view, and bring it together and give me the result. If you have more complex cases, then you can really add SQL script coding to your calculation views to cover that requirements. Now maybe you have the question with that 3 view types, what view type should be used at the moment. If you start modeling, then you should ask you, is a stars schema in place, or do I have to do an aggregation? Then maybe the analytic view is the best choice. If not, ask if just joins are needed or calculated attributes, then attributes view can be used. If that is not sufficient, then check if a calculation view can be used without SQL script. Then the model calculation view is the best choice. If not, then check if you can cover your requirements with calculation view with SQL script. Use then CE functions. CE functions means calculation engine functions, that's special optimized functions which can be called out of SQL script, then do that here. But if you really cannot cover that with a scripted calculation view, then you have to think about an SQL script procedure on your database. Here is just a screenshot of Eclipse with install SAP HANA Tools. You see it, I personally like this because with the integration into Eclipse, now you don't have to change the IDE, because your ABAP development can be done in Eclipse, the Fiori development, UI5 development in general can be done in that. And if you really want to implement something in Java, then you can do this also here. But I don't want to show you just a screenshot. I want to go to the system. I have already started it here. You see it here. I'm in the SAP HANA development perspective. I have here an XS project for SAP HANA. That's here. Let's go into it. Before I show you the different views I've created for the demo, I want to show you the definition file for my entities. It's defined in core data services, which is available in SAP HANA. You see it here. I have context defined. Within that context, I have a special context where I define my types which I need for my tables. So maybe it's a client field with a string 3. And I have defined another context where my entities are defined. You see the first entity, it's an insured object entity I've shown you before, with an ID field, description field, longitude, latitude information, and here with set annotation, add catalog, point table type, column, it is defined that it is created as column-based table. Here are my other entities, like the coverage and the assignment table. But let's come to the views here. It's very easy. You see it here, I have different calculation views and an attribute view. I have created a calculation view which lists all coverages per insured object. objects. If you go into it, then you see on the semantics layer the outcome of that view with the different fields here. What the view delivers to me, the client, some coverage information, some insured objects information. It's really a combination of that two entities. You can define some default settings here, like the client handling. Here I've set it to cross-client, so cross-client means if I call the view, then I get the data from all clients, not restricted to a special client. I have here also the option session client. Session client means if I call the view from an ABAP system, we are logged on into a special client, then the data returned by the view is automatically restricted to the client. I can also define a default schema, because on my HANA systems there can be different schemas with the same entity information, and if I do not specify a specific schema, then the data is taken from that default schema. But how it is modeled, we start here on the bottom. First is a join I have created. I joined here the information from the coverage table with my relation table. That's the first step. To get the information of the insured object which is assigned to my coverages. You see it here on the right-hand side, set the columns which are the output of that view. Adding columns to the output is very easy, just drag and drop, or saying, okay, add to output. See it here. Can also remove it, it's very easy to handle it. On the next level, or the next step, I have an additional join, where I join to the outcome of my first step, the data from my insured object table, because I need the description information, city, longitude, latitude information, and add it to the output of that view. And here I have projection node. It is a mandatory node in that calculation view. Projection or aggregation node, it's mandatory, it cannot be deleted. But because I have not to do anything more, I just transfer the data which comes from the lower levels to the higher levels. And so in the semantics layer here, we receive that field. You see it here, I've named it private view. That's really the private view which we have seen before. The interface can be changed. It can or it should not be used by reporting tools. For the reusage of that data, I have defined a reuse view. You see it in the name, it's a reuse view, because it's a very simple example. I do not want to add here some additional information. It just takes the information from my private view and add it to the output. So it's very easy. And to complete the layers, of course, I have a query view, which you can see here. It's also very easy. I take the data from my reuse view and add it to the output. One just additional thing I've created here is a variable for that view. You are able to define input parameters for HANA Column Views where you can restrict the data or define variables. I've created one variable for the client, so I can restrict the data which is returned to that client 800 here, which is my test client. Then let's take a look on another calculation view which I've created. It takes the data also from my reuse view, and I have an aggregation node here which makes an aggregation over all my attributes I added to the output, and the target of the view is that it returns all data aggregated for a specific currency. I want all insured sums in a specific currency. So we have here two additional columns, calculated columns. One column which has the value of the target currency, in which I want to have the sums, and one column for the converted amount. But how I define in which target currency I want to have the result. So I can add in the semantics layer, as I said it before, some parameters. You see it here. I have a parameter for the currency, for my target currency. It's default value euro. I need some additional information, the exchange rate date, on which dates the currency translation should be done, and the exchange rate type. And here, if you go to the field which stores my target currency, I just want to have the value of the parameter, so I can just say in the expression editor, included in the double dollar signs, P currency, which is the name of my parameter, then in that column, the defined target currency is displayed. Regarding the currency conversion itself, that's the other calculated column. You see it here, the input value for the calculation is my original insured amount, which is stored in that column, CU insured sum. Just say in the expression, that's the input. And on the semantics tab, I can then add the information how the currency conversion is done. You see here, I need the source currency, in which the amount is available. So I say the source currency is available in that column here. What should be the target currency? Of course, I enter here my parameter, exchange rate type, my parameter, conversion date, my parameter, and I have to define a schema for the currency conversion. Because, you know, you can have different schemas. Each schema can contain different information regarding currency conversions, regarding the factors and so on, which have to be used, and therefore I have to define from which schema the data has to be used. Here is an additional field for the client, which is also necessary to determine which currency translation information has to be taken. One additional option you have here is what should happen if the currency conversion fails, if you have no factors in your system, and so on. I've here chosen the option set to null, so I get a null in the result columns, but you can also say fail, raise an error, or ignore it, say the error, then nothing is done. So if I finish the modeling, then before I integrate it in a reporting tool, I can make a preview of the data with the integrated preview editor. Here you see if I start that, then I get immediately a pop-up where I can enter my parameters and my variables. So if you don't want to use euro, I can just change it to US dollar. And so, okay, give me the result of the view converted to US dollar. You see it, so insured some target currency. This all the sums or the amounts are translated to US dollar. Okay. Just to prove that I didn't lie, that I really have 1 million data records in it, you see here I have a tab distinct values. If I take the client, you see here I have 1 million records and client 800. So it's not fake. Okay.
And where are the exchange rates stored?
The exchange rates are stored in the schema you have to define. That's the standard SAP tables for the currency conversion, and you have just to define in that pop-up I've shown you from which schema the data has to be taken. But that's the standard SAP currency conversion tables. Okay. Then the first tool or data control I want to show you is the ALV with integrated data access. As I said before, it's more for the classical ABAP developers because customers which have a well-grown system, which many applications and classical Dynpros, they also want to benefit from some new performance things which gives SAP HANA. So we have a look. What is an ALV? I think most of you know it, ABAP List Viewer, but just a short description. We compare the classical ALV with the new ALV with integrated data access. And because at the moment it is not possible that the HANA Column Views I showed you can be accessed directly from ABAP, I show you the so-called external views to access SAP HANA Column Views out of an ABAP system. So what is an ALV? ALV, ABAP List Viewer, is a very often used control to display data, or also to enter data, but in many cases we use it for simple operative ABAP reports. We have several customers which use that control. One customer, I think, has over 100 operative reports using that control. With that control, the data can be listed very simple, in a simple line or two-dimensional, can be also hierarchical, and the data can be listed in tree structures. Great benefit of that control is that it supports out-of-the-box personalization. So you can define your own layouts, you can arrange your columns, you can do sorting out, you can do filtering, aggregations, grouping, and so on. And another great point is the export functionality, which gives the ALV out of the box. So you can export your data to Excel, to HTML, to TXT files, and many different formats. Because in many cases, the business people say, okay, we want to see that data, but you also want to export the data so that you can reuse it in other tools. But that classical ALV, which you know, which is already in place for several years, has one problem. All the data has to be stored in an internal table on the application server. So what means that if you have a huge amount of data, so 1 million data records, on the application server side, then you have a performance loss because you have to load the data, and also if you do some actions like sorting, filtering, and so on, it takes also very long time because the table types which have to be used here are standard tables. A possible solution is the new ALV control with the integrated data access, because that control really benefits from the new HANA technologies, and it pushes down all the things to the database level. If you look on that comparison list between the classical ALV and the new ALV, then we have here several points we can have a look on it regarding the data retrieval. As I said it, for the classical ALVs, the data has to be stored in an internal table, and also how the internal table has to be filled by other logic. So you really have to program it, have to make you select, get it to the application server and store it in the internal table. With the new ALV, the ALV itself is responsible for the data determination. You just say to the ALV, take the data from that table, that view, or that external view, which points to a HANA column view. Data content. Classically, the complete internal table is in the content. The new ALV is just the data which has to be displayed in the content. So if you can't just display 200 data records on your page, you just have to load the 200 data records, not the 1 million data records. Round trips, if you scroll down, then on for the classical ALVs that is done on application server side. With the new one, the paging is done on database side. Display the first 200 records, then scroll down, then the next 200 data records are loaded. Also is this classical done internal table, new ALV done database. All is pushed down, if you make the aggregation, sorting, so on, all is done really by SAP HANA. And memory consumption, if you think about that, if you have to really store 1 million data records, 10 million data records on the application server side, you need much more space, and maybe you get down because of a memory overflow. That cannot happen with the new ALV, because it just needs a memory for the data which is displayed. Maybe 200 data records, 100 data records. And another point is the speed at the startup. If you start a program with the classical ALV, then it takes so long until the complete data is loaded. And for the new ALV, it starts very fast because just a little set of the data has to be loaded. Here, just some information regarding the external views I've said, because at the moment, I really have to say at the moment, it is not possible with the newest ABAP stack release to access SAP HANA Column Views directly. You have to create an external view, but it's very easy in the ABAP and Eclipse environment. Just to create external view, choose the SAP HANA Column View, which is stored in the HANA database, and then the external view points to the SAP HANA Column View. It's just a proxy object. And via that external view, you can access the data from the SAP HANA Column View directly and via the proxy object. And also the new ALV with integrated data access can use that external views. The ALV with integrated data access is for the classical Dynpros, as I said, but of course the Floorplan manager is not forgotten. I think you know the classical list component of Floorplan manager where you can display your list and so on. And there's also a new list component also with an integrated data access. It gives the same features as the ALV with integrated data access, but especially created for the Floorplan manager. I do not know who knows Floorplan manager, you has already used it. In the Floorplan manager you have to create a feeder class which feeds that control here, and with the classical list component you also have to get the data by yourself and the get data method. Here with the new list component you also just take the data from that view maybe. Here we have also a little demo. I go again in my Eclipse installation, close that stuff here. Then I have a project which is linked to an ERP system with SAP HANA database below I've shown you. I've created here a package for that session. I can show you first the external view. It's the same as you see on the slide already. Here's a view type, external view, and it points to that other view. Here it points to an attributes view I have created, which gives me just a flat list of all the information of coverages and insured objects. And with that external view, I feed my new programs here. I've created one for the classical, classical is the wrong word, it's a new classical ALV with data, with integrated data access. It's very simple. I switch to the other perspective for the inline. I have just two local classes. One class which starts my application and a controller class, a simple controller class for that screen. The most important method is here to prepare either of ALV method, which sets up, creates the ALV with integrated data access. Here you see it's very easy with the factory method create of the class here, SALV query table, you can create such a new ALV. And here, just tell with the parameter, IV table name and passing the external view, you define from where the data has to be taken. The other things here are just to make it a little bit nicer, to define a title, to set the order of the columns, and give the columns a header text, and so on. Here we have set the currency reference field, set some persistency options, so that the user can store its own layouts. And one additional point regarding text search I want to show you in the demo, because the new ALV has also text search integrated with similarity option. Let's start the program. You see it here, it starts very fast. That's really a view which delivers the 1 million data records, but with the integrated data access, just the first entries are taken from the database which are needed to fill up the screen here. If I scroll, then you see that there's a little delay until the next data is loaded, until the paging is done, but I think it's okay. But displaying a simple list. It's not very nice. So really performance benefit come if you do some aggregations here. So let's do an aggregation over that insured sum column. So say like the total. Of course, we do not get any result here because we have different currencies, and over the currencies no aggregation can be done. So we then just say, make a grouping over my payrolls here, you see it, fire, earthquake, and so on over my currencies. Now I do my grouping, and you see on the database, the 1 million data records are aggregated, and I would say nearly in real time. If I drill down here, you see then for the earthquake, I have 2 billion euros and so on, also for floodwater and so on. But you see it's not a pre-aggregated thing which is loaded here from database, it is really calculated in the database. Really in memory, the 1 million data records aggregated, and then just a few result sets are brought back to the application server which are then displayed. One point regarding the text search I've said, if I just want to see all perils or all entries regarding the product floodwater, then I can enter the text here. Okay, that's not very nice. But it could be that I have a typo in here, I've written water with double T, then I do not find anything. And to fix that or to ignore that typos, I can adjust the similarity for the text search. Here, by default, it was set to 1. I can reduce it to 1.8. And then you see that my floodwater entries are found again. That comes out of the box. I just say, okay, transfer the text term, set the similarity, and then it works. Just another example regarding the Floorplan manager, just to show it to you that it also works. Start set, simple program. You see it here, it also starts very fast. Also the same, the memory calculation is done on database, and the result is returned to the feeder class, which then fills the control here. Here it is automatically created because I have defined it here in the settings that it should done automatically sort and an aggregation for the corresponding columns. Of course, it is also possible here to make a drill down. You see here the sums, and here you can also drill down to the singular entries here. Here you can also scroll and see that here also the paging is done. So not all the data is loaded at one time, but just the data which is necessary for the display. Okay, that was it for the classical world. For the old school art developers, come to the next point. Business object tools called Analyses for Microsoft Office. It's a component which is delivered by SAP, which has to be installed, and which really integrates into Microsoft Office. At the moment, it is integrated into Excel for OLAP-based analysis, and we have so-called live analysis, which you can integrate into PowerPoint. What means that you can integrate the result of a report in your PowerPoint, and during the execution of your presentation, when you show the slides to your colleagues or so, then the result is automatically updated with the most recent data. So it's no static data, it's really updated. By whom the tool is used, of course, by the IT departments to create some content which then can be shared with the business people and some other people. But it is also a tool which can be used by the business people itself, by power users. I think you all know that you have some people in the business departments which wants always a data extraction from the database. Give me the data in an Excel file, just the raw data, and then I make my own reports on that. And with that, it is possible that you just create the HANA views behind that, then say, okay, you as a power user, you can connect to the database, take that HANA view, and make your own real-time reports within Excel, if you want to do that. The benefits, of course, are really very easy to use, and it is integrated in the familiar Office UI, and of course it gives a fast insight into the business values. Okay, just one slide regarding the data source options, because today we have the focus on SAP HANA. It is possible to call the SAP HANA views directly from the analysis tool here. It is done via ODBC connection, but with that tool you can also get data from NetWeaver business warehouse system, like the Bex queries, views, infos providers, and of course you can set, use that business object tools with the business objects BI platform.
Did the new ERP also work with the Viewer database, or just the HANA?
It works with an Oracle database, but it does not benefit. Okay, then I show you the Excel tool. You see that this is very easy. Let's start it. You see it here, standard Excel is started, but you have an additional ribbon menu here. It is called Analyses. So first thing I have to do is select my data source here via that button. By default I get a prompt where I have to enter my login data for a BI platform, but we don't have such a server here. So I skip that because I want to go directly to my HANA system. It's that one here. To log on. Then I can just simply search for my HANA Column Views. You see it here, that's the query view I showed you before, or I can go to my folder structure, so to my package structure I have defined on my HANA system. One for MSG test, then the sub-conference demo, my models, and I take the calculation view I've shown you before with the geo information data, longitude, latitude, and with the integrated currency conversion, which gives me back the insured sums and a target currency. Let's say OK. Then I get the same pop-up as before on the data preview screen, where I can define my currency, my exchange rate type, and so on. Let euro, then say OK. And then by default an aggregation is done for my measure for my insured sum here, which is this way. But that's not the information I want to have here, because I want to see my insured sums per country, and maybe with the pair information. You see it here, it's all calculated on the fly. Also no pre-aggregated data here. I just add my columns, and on the database it's calculated and returned. Here we have some features, of course, to restrict the data. Maybe restrict it to Romania. So it is automatically updated. Of course, I can insert some simple charts. And if I want to compare the sums with the sums in Germany, then I just add Germany. The calculation is done automatically, and also my result, inclusive the chart, is updated. So you see, it's very simple to use for the power users from the business departments. I think that's a very great tool. So you avoid the extraction of some data from the database, and that the business users then makes their reports on outdated data. Okay, Then the last tool I want to show you is SAP Lumira, as I said, formerly known as SAP Visual Intelligence. It is really a tool which allows to access, transform, and visualize data in a very easy way. We have different chart types available to make the visualizations. The advantages also, like for the Microsoft Excel tool or Office tool, is that you have a fast insight into the business data. It of course accelerates the decision making, because if you have the data faster, so you can make faster decision about some topics. The self-service usage is also increased, because that tool can also be used by the business departments itself. And of course, with the integration, with the native integration of SAP HANA Views, you can also report your data in real time. Just for your information, besides the personal edition with enhanced features, there's also a free edition available, which you can download for free, where you can then test a little bit around, especially with that data source options, because within the SAP Lumira you can also create extra CSV file as my data source. So just download the free edition, make simple Excel file, and then you can play around with the tool for first insight. Another data source options are simple SQL queries on any database. Of course, here again, business warehouse, specs queries and info providers, and SAP HANA Column Views. Within SAP Lumira, it is not recommended to do additional things, because all additional things which are done on the client side take or cost some time. So some benefit can be lost which you achieved by SAP HANA. But there are some dataset options available. You can, for example, combine different columns. You can combine datasets. You can create additional calculated columns, calculated measures, or you can create hierarchies, especially for the geographic hierarchies and the time hierarchies. In this example I will show you, I have created a geographic hierarchy for the geographic chart types. Here's just a list of all possible chart types for the visualizations which can be created. You see it here, bound column charts, the standard things with 3D column chart, the geographic charts with a geomap which uses the map data from the E3 map data provider. Of course, line charts, simple things like tables, point charts, scatter charts, map charts. I personally like the tree map chart very well. Then of course pie charts and different other charts. And the list of charts increases with each new release of SAP Lumira. Visualizations can be combined into stories. Stories, you see it here in that example. If you have created a column chart, you have created a geo chart and so on, you can combine that on a page. You can make it more fancy by adding some pictures, some text, and some input controls, which you see here, to restrict the data. And the great point is that you can make that visualization stories, and then you can share it. So several options. You can share it in the simple way via file export and sending the files to the user, or you can deploy it to a SAP Lumira server or to a SAP Lumira cloud. So the IT department can prepare some visualization stories, then press OK, publish that to the cloud installation, and then all the business people can use that information. Then let's go to the system back. I've already started SAP Lumira. Here I'm on the dataset page. You see it here, I hope you can read it. Here you see the SAP HANA Column View to which I have connected. That's the data which is returned by that column view. You see also the variables again and the parameters I can define. The data is returned, and one special thing I've already told you is that I have created a geographic hierarchy with the latitude and longitude information. So latitude, longitude, and the country, region, and city information is determined out of that latitude, longitude information. So when I have created that dataset, which is also very simple, then I can go to the Visualize tab and make some visualization. I have prepared here some things. Here you see little bar chart. I can just change it to a column chart. It's very easy. It displays all insured sums on my defined target currency in euro, aggregated on country level. Then I have a 3D column chart aggregated on the peril for the different perils, you see earthquake, fire, and so on. Then the more interesting chart types, especially for insurance, are the geographic chart types. Here I have a simple chart where all affected countries are marked with the insured sum when I hover over it. And because of the geographic hierarchy I've defined, I can drill down. You see it here, I have marked countries, so my charts the countries are marked. And if I say, okay, now I want to see it on region level, I just switch to region level, and you see it here. I get the sums insured per region level. Here for Cluj, Bucharest, and so on. Now if I want to see it on city level, I can just switch to city level. So very easy to use. Another geographic chart type is geo pie chart. It's nearly the same, but the different perils, or the sums per perils, are on a separate layer with that pie chart overlay. My personal favorite are the tree maps here. I think it's very cool. It looks very simple, but it gives a lot of information. Here you can compare the different countries and the different perils at one page. I think that's very great. We use that control type also for our development for static code analysis. Then you can compare the different packages, how big they are, and how big the different components are, the lines of code and so on, how many errors are in it. So very great to use. And of course, simple things are possible as simple as. And I want to show you how simple it is to create such a visualization. Just create new. Then I choose the chart type I want to have. Maybe we use GeoMap with the map data. It takes a while until the data is loaded. The map data is loaded. Here we are. Like in Google Maps or OpenStreetMaps, you can change here the view. I go to the Earth view, and then when I want to have my data on that chart, okay, I just say the geo dimension on that layer should be my geographic hierarchy. Then you see that my countries are marked, but I have no information about my insured sum. So I just take my insured sum, take it to the color column here, and then to the countries the insured sum information is added. So that gives the insurance companies, the underwriters, or whoever uses that things, very easy sight on the insured sum. So think about that. If a new contract should be signed, maybe here in Germany, and he sees, okay, we have nearly signed a risk of 3 billion euros, and we want to sign a new business with another billion euro, then maybe the underwriter says, no, that's too much for us. So with that chart types, that's very easy for him to determine the information. Of course, you can make things like selection, so if you want to have a look at the special area of the world, that's very comfortable then for the user. On the next tab, on the Compose tab, then you can create the stories you've seen on the slides, the combination of the different visualizations. I've prepared here one, two. You see here my geo pie chart, my sample list, and my favorite tree map. And I have added here some input controls where the user can restrict the countries he wants to see, you can restrict the parallels. You can also add pictures to make it more fancy, the storyboard here, and some text. So restrict the data to Romania so that you see that it works. You see that it is automatically updated. Of course, the calculations are done again on the backend, in the database, and again I compare my data to Germany. And you see that it's also updated. And if I want to add the geomap visualization we have created before, just take it, add it, and that was it. See it here, restricted Germany and to Romania. So if you have created some set visualizations, I think you agree that it is very easy, and also as business people can use it. If you have prepared something, maybe in the IT department, and then you want to share that information, just go to the next tab, Share. And here you see you have different options, more than on a slide. The export thing, published to SAP HANA directly, Business Explorer, the Miro Cloud, the Miro Server, and to the SAP Streamwork. That's possible as options. But if you have installed the environment, that's very easy to do.
When you publish it to the cloud, do you still need a client, or is it a web page?
No, that's web page, yeah. And also, as we have seen on your little viewer launchpad, there was a little icon, maybe you have seen it, which was called SAP Lumira. It is also integrated into the new Fiori design paradigm. Okay. So that was it from the tool side. Just a little conclusion and a little outlook. Of course, I've showed you now three controls, three tools here. There are several other options you can use. Maybe the SAP Business Objects Design Studio is also a tool which is delivered by SAP. It has a nice feature where you can directly publish your reports to the iPad. That's a very nice feature. And if you have more complex requirements, of course, you have always the option to create your own reporting applications in any technology with any UI. Best way, of course, in SAP is to use UI5 now for SAP Fiori analytical apps, but you can, of course, use Java, .NET. SAP has already made some examples in Java regarding storm simulation, I think, so in that direction. One point which I find great is that SAP has not forgotten the old classical ABAP world. We have seen it with the ABAP List Viewer with integrated data access. Of course, there are some more features in the ABAP stack integrated to benefit from the SAP HANA performance regarding the ABAP managed database procedures, which were introduced with support package 5 of NetWeaver 740. And some more things, the core data services which come now. That's really great things which allows the ABAP developer to benefit from SAP now. And with the Microsoft Office analysis for Microsoft Office tool, SAP Lumira, SAP provides tools which gives business itself the possibility to access the data in real time. As I already said, for ABAP developers, the whole thing will be a little bit simplified with one of the next support packages. At the moment, we have a so-called bottom-up approach. So the developer has to create some artifacts on the HANA database, so the HANA Column Views or stored procedures, which are then consumed from our side via proxy object. So for the HANA Column Views, you need the external views. For stored procedures, you need database procedure proxies. What is already in place for the database procedures and the proxies are the other managed database procedures. That's introduced with support package 5, as I said. It allows you to implement SQL script directly within another method, and then the necessary store procedure on the HANA system is automatically created when that other code is executed the first time. So the whole lifecycle management will be easier because you do not have to care about that, how the store procedure on HANA side is transported to the target system and how the other coding is transported. Because that is done just on the ABAP side and you don't have to care about the HANA side. And another point with the coordinator services, it will give the ABAP developer much more features also on our side with that new syntax. So in one of the next versions of functionality will come that you can define your currency conversion with such a coordinator service, which is then also pushed onto the database automatically. So that's also regarding the lifecycle management. We define all the things on the ABAP side, and as ABAP developer you don't have to go to the HANA side anymore. Great point is now released with SAP HANA Service Pack 8, the new geospatial functionalities. I think you know some things about geospatial with the different types, ST geometry, line points, line strings, and so on, which are available. That is now integrated into SAP HANA. Of course not feature complete, but the first things are done. So the next support packages, more and more features will come regarding that point. And with that options, it is it's very impressive how you can really in real time geographic things report. So that's very great what comes here. And it is also already mentioned that the future versions of Lumira will be enhanced to benefit from that new geospatial types. And of course, if it's possible that you display then your data and set things like Google Maps and OpenStreetMaps, maybe with the GeoJSON format, I think you know that. So it's very easy to transform the data to the tools which can then visualize the data. Finally, I can say that with SAP HANA and the tools on top, we have great options to report a huge amount of data in real time. I think you have seen it just with the 1 million data records that we don't have a really long delay. That I think we can say it's real time. And with the new features which will come and the new thing or the existing things which will be enhanced, that's very great. One last point from my side is that I really like that. I already said last year that SAP HANA with SAP HANA and all the tools are updated on a regular basis. So it's not like in the last years, SAP has something released and then you didn't get any updates for some months or any new features for some months. That is not the case with the new tools. Like for SAP Lumira, each month you get a new version. Also the ABAP features are coming now with each 3 support packages, and it makes very fun to use the new features and to get really quick bug fixes for the things you have found. I think that's very cool. Okay, so far from my side, I want to thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the session a little bit. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask me.
I have a question.
Yeah?
You said that for WebDypro, the integrated data tool is only FPM based, because you also have the NAD component, which is going to be used by the
set is not updated. It's just this component. Yeah. Further questions?
I have a question. You said you had also tried executing with 10 million records?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did the performance scale?
There was no real difference between it. No difference which can be measured by you. Okay, I think you are too tired to ask me some questions. Thank you.
At the end of our sessions, I'd like to thank you very much for your participation, and I hope you have enjoyed. Due to the success of last year and also this year, I'm sure that we're gonna organize such a conference also next year. You're all invited. Special thanks for the speakers and their efforts. I can guarantee you it's not easy to do such a thing once a year. We did it for free. Well, our goal is to achieve together at least one time for on a year on an SAP community and exchange our opinions. I think we have a good result achieved, and I hope next year will be better. We will ask you, and we wait for you to provide us your feedbacks, your opinions. You have at your disposition the email when you already registered, so please feel free. Thank you very much, and thank you for staying there.